Hello and welcome to Max and Tillison. Well, before I get into all the mechanicals in the restoration of this 1971 Sportster XLCH Sparkling America, first thing I like to do is get into all the body work. Now fall's upon us, and before it gets too cold outside, I want to complete the original factory paint scheme of this 1971 XLCH Sparkling America. So let's get into the body work first, and we'll go step by step, and we'll move on to the paint work later. Okay, this guy attached the seat with a bolt from underneath the fender, which is crazy because you can't take off the seat then unless you take off the whole rear fender. It doesn't make any sense, so I'm gonna have to change that. So what I'm doing right here is taking off the fender so I can weld up these two holes on each side of the fender that someone drilled through for what I don't know. And I'm gonna weld in a piece of flat steel in the back of that hole, and then on the silver side of the front of it, and grind the whole thing flat so you don't see these two holes in the fender anymore. And the tail has got to come off as well. Okay, next step. I'll paint the frame, take the coil off, and take the regulator off, and just redo everything. And take the swing arm off, and the passenger foot peg bar, get that off. The shocks, the wheel, the pipes, the chain guard, the whole deal. Everything's coming off in the oil tank and the kicker and the whole carburetor, the exhaust pipes. Everything is coming off this bike, so I have access to the frame so I can freshen it up with a nice coat of paint. But I'm doing all the body work first. Okay guys, let's go to step 2. And we'll take the tail light off. At this juncture of the video, I would like to ask you to subscribe if you already haven't. I want to do a complete series on the restoration of this 1971 Sportster XLCH Sparkling America, and it would really help out the channel. Also, it would help me bring more content just like this to you. So thank you in advance. Now, I usually do the body work and the paint last after the restoration's over with, but fall's upon us and it'll be getting cold outside, and I can't paint if it's anywhere below about 65 or 67 degrees. So I want to get this body work and the paint job finished first before I do any mechanical on the bike. And I was just at the paint shop, and I bought all the materials and had some custom paint mixed for this birch white that came back in 1971 on this bike. And boy, oh boy, all the painting materials are so expensive. The license plate bracket, and the wiring harness has got to be pulled off. I'll get the camera over here so you can see what I'm doing. These are old. I have a brand new gasket kit for the rear tail light, and I'll put that on when I put it back together again. And I'm going to scuff up all this chrome, and it's going to be painted just like the factory did to match the paint on the fender, which is going to be birch white. It's got the nice original lens back here too. Okay, I'll put that away in a box and save that. And the license plate bracket, I have to repaint this, of course. That's a very bad way to mount the seat from underneath the fender like this. Doesn't even make any sense. You gotta take the whole fender off to get at the seat and take it off. Come on. Okay. Now with the seat off. Now with the seat off of it. It's an old seat, probably from a, I don't know, 1973 to maybe a 75, 76. And time to weld in the holes here on both sides of the fender. And prep and prime the fender for our birch white paint job and the clear coat. And I'm going to fix this hole that he drilled in the fender too. He's got a hole drilled in for that seat. So I may just fix that hole. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. Okay, next step. I'm going to go ahead and grind smooth these drilled out holes here. They have a raised area all around them, and I'm going to just grind those flat and weld in a little steel plate right here on the bottom side, and then get some silver solder and fill that in and grind the whole thing down nice and smooth, and that will be a nice repair that you won't even see. Okay, let's start grinding it smooth. A little bit more. Okay. That's hot. And we'll knock this dimple down right here. You could see it maybe, I'm not sure. Get some light on in here. All what I'm going to do here is just cut off a couple of small pieces of this flat stock right here. It's about a 1/16 thick, and after I cut them off, just a small piece, I'm going to weld them in to the inside of the fender, and that's going to provide a backing so I can silver solder the other side and grind it nice and smooth. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cut these off now. and I'll just weld that little plate in place. I'll give it a couple of tack welds so it's nice and sturdy, and then go ahead on the other side and I'll silver solder the other side in, grind it smooth, and have these 2 holes repaired, and then start to prime and paint this fender. Okay, I'll start the welding. I got that little tab of steel clamped down, so we're going to give it a couple of tack welds, and that's going to serve as our steel backing for our silver solder to fix these holes in the rear fender. Now, even though I have my MIG welder set at a low setting, I have to be very careful not blowing a hole through this thin material on this fender. So I'll be just doing a couple of tack welds all around this steel backing here, and I'm going to leave it at that. And after I get finished welding in these tabs, I'm going to dress them up with the grinder and make them look a little bit better, even though you don't see them because they're underneath the fender. Ah, shit. I just silver soldered that hole right there and tack welded the bracket in the back of that, so the silver solder has something to hold on to. So I'm going to continue to grind it smooth. Okay, this is the end result after I welded in the little plate in the backing, and then I came up on top here and I filled the silver solder in the hole right there, and I ground that smooth so you can't see any hole in the fender anymore. It's ground nice and smooth, and same with the other side. Right there, and ground that one smooth. So I have no more holes in the fender. Now it's ready for prime and paint. I have a couple of inverted dents in my front fender here, and I don't know how they got there, but they're a little bit high. I'm going to have to beat them down a little bit and apply a little Bondo in this one area. It's possible that the bike fell over on the left hand side at some point and did a little damage to the corner of the fender here. So I'm going to have to try to get that down a little bit. That's a little bit better. Yeah, that should do it. I don't know why, but the front of the steel fender here had a lot of lumps and bumps in this thing, and a lot of inverted dents that came from underneath, it seems like. I don't know why, but I did pound some of them down, and I did sand some of them down flatter, at least the ones that were sticking up. I still have one right here. I'll work on it a little bit further. I don't know if you can see it or not in the camera, but there's a lot of little dings in the front of that front fender here. I'm going to have to give that up. Just a very light skim coat of Bondo on that and smooth it out a little bit. And next week we'll get into the fuel tank, and I'll do the body work on it and show you the process of how I went about this over here. So until then, guys, you take good care of yourselves. Thank you for watching Max and Tillison, and I'll see you guys next week. You take care.